Shalom, aloha. We are here for the first quarter activation. So we had the new moon activation last week. It was sort of a new beginning for us. And the first quarter is all about being 1 week into this 4-part cycle, this 4-week cycle. This is a collective reading, so it's not for any one individual, it's for the whole. Yes, it also relates to your individual life, but it is a reading for the collective, so we can see how really we're all going through the same theme, always. We're all always going through an underlying theme that connects all of us together as one consciousness, one unit. So I'm just beginning to shuffle while y'all tune in. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. I'm tuning in from the lovely Sedona, Arizona. And so when you look at a deck of tarot cards, you're holding all the pieces of you in your hands. You're holding all of the different perspectives in one whole deck all together. So you can see it as though this deck is you. It's the whole you. And each card is a different part of you. It's a different angle of perspective. Cool. Tucson, Nashville, West Virginia. Awesome. Let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. Australia. Awesome. So when we shuffle up the deck, we just explained the deck is you. These are the different parts of you. When you shuffle up the parts, what you're doing is you're touching each of those parts. You're saying hello to each of those parts, waking up each of those parts. You can also see them, all the cards together in one deck is sort of like the whole brain, and each card is a different neural pathway. There are many different ways to look at it. Virginia, Arizona, Florida, Tokyo. And when people tune in and say where they're tuning in from, I like to see it as though that part of the globe is lighting up. So in my mind's eye, I see the earth from outer space, and I see those points just lighting up the globe. Global network of light. Michigan, Vancouver Island, Florida, Trinidad, hey, Maryland, hey. So again, we're just waking up the different parts of the one, the different parts of self. Couple New Yorkers in the house. What's up? More Florida in the house, Canada in the house. We got the whole world in here. North Carolina, UK, Bend, Oregon, Tasmania, Australia. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and take out my Hebrew cards. If you guys are curious about how to shuffle the deck, I have a lot to say about that. I have a lot to say about how one is supposed to shuffle the deck. But I'm looking forward to sharing more of that information with you in my books to come and in maybe some future live videos. Let's have a little dialogue about that, because I know a lot of you have asked me about that. So the Hebrew cards look like this. I'm shuffling them right now. Remember that when you see a card, the image is flipped because we are on a camera right now. And while I'm shuffling these Hebrew cards, go ahead and share this video with anyone you think might need an uplifting message right now, or someone who you think might activate this message further. You might want to share it with a family member, a friend, or a favorite group you have on Facebook while we're live. Get them in the portal live. And of course, afterward, the recording will go to YouTube and Instagram, Rebecca Magic, for anyone who's not on Facebook. The Hebrew cards work the same way as the tarot. Each letter represents a different aspect of self and a different piece of archetypal wisdom. So we're shuffling them up. Okay. Thank you in advance to the one, because that's all there is. Thank you in advance to the archetypes, the faces of the one, these beautiful symbols that are reflections of that one that we are all a part of. Thank you. Thank you, each one of you, for showing up, for being present, for everyone who's going to tap into this activation, even if it's 3-4 months from now or years from now. These messages live outside of time and space. They are universal truths. They are multidimensionally applicable. This message will forever be available so that its wisdom can be received when it's needed the most at any point within time and space. So thank you. Thank we. Thank one. So at this time of the first quarter moon, we're 1 week into the cycle. What is our focus, which also is the challenge and the gift? The challenge becomes the gift as we move through it, if we use these tools and these messages. Okay, so we have the challenge and gift pulled. What's something that we can expect to step into as we move through this challenge? What's a little glimpse of the future? And then with the Hebrew cards, we will pull an ally. Okay. Okay, starting with the focus, the challenge and gift. 7 of Swords. And this card has been coming up in a lot of personal one-on-one readings I've been doing this week for clients, for friends, for family. So obviously it's a collective theme. If this is the current focus, let's talk about what it looks like on the more challenging end and on the more blessed end, what we call the gift. And remember that tarot is a sequence, so you always want to look to the cards before and after to understand the part that we're currently at. Okay, so it's the Suit of Swords, which means it's the suit of challenges. The 6 of Swords is all about a rite of passage. The 6 of Swords that we just came from to get here was all about a rite of passage, moving through the hardest part of a particular challenge. Maybe it's been very challenging for some of you, for some of us. Maybe it's been a few challenges that we just made it through. But the point is, we just recently went through this rite of passage where we've moved through the hardest point or points of that challenge or those challenges. And now we're in a place where, yes, we've come through that, but how are we carefully putting together our reality, meaning starting with our thoughts, starting with the mind? How are we carefully repiecing together our reality so that we make sure we don't recreate the same thing again? Now, it looks like he's, looking over his shoulder. He could be questioning, am I doing this right? Well, the thing is he looking over his shoulder to just be sure and make sure he's checking out his environment and his decisions that are leading to him to this environment in a way that's healthy? Or is he finding that he has to look over his shoulder an awful lot because maybe he's been cutting corners, or maybe he's not been giving his absolute best, and so there's some part of him in his subconscious that tells him to keep looking over his shoulder because what he's looking for is the karma of his own decisions or his own actions. Okay, so we're at this time right now where we're building a new reality. We're recovering from, think about it, what happens when you go through these rites of passage? You just come out of a very trying time, a very challenging time. And so we have these thought programs that we've built based on that trauma. And our thoughts will just then, if we stay stuck in that place, attract the same reality and the same challenges. We don't want to have to keep looking over our shoulder and worrying about whether I'm doing this right or not. You don't want to be in a paranoid space. Not physically and certainly not mentally. Everything begins in the mind. So what are you doing right now? And this is going to determine how you make it through this current focus. What are you doing right now to make sure that you make the most of each moment, that you make the most of this process of rebuilding? And again, for some of us, this is very challenging. And for some of us, maybe we're feeling like we have a little more grace through this process. Maybe you're feeling like, I am being present. Well, I challenge you. How can you be more present? How can you even more intentionally and ritualistically live your life right now to ensure that not only do you not make those same mistakes, but you make the best choices you could possibly make? Not just like getting by, not just saying, I'm not going to make those same choices because I don't want the same situation, but saying, not only am I not going to make those same choices, I'm going to make the best choices I could possibly make. I'm not going to just scrape by. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, for example, say someone came out of poverty. They haven't been able to eat right in weeks. They can't even afford food, right? And they get this awesome job. And they don't want to keep thinking, and this is a really good metaphor for this type of energy. They don't want to keep thinking, oh my God, I'm just going to recreate the same thing. What if I lose this job? And right, that's like the man looking over his shoulder. What if I lose this job? What if I'm just the same old person that got stuck in the past and couldn't keep a job? Or, what if this just doesn't last? What if this is too good to be true? And then you're just recreating those patterns. And then what happens is you end up being so distracted that you do lose that job and you make it a reality. And there you go, repeating the pattern again. And so you don't want to just think, oh gosh, I'm so lucky I'm not broke anymore and starving. I'm so glad to even just have a bite to eat. I'll just eat this one thing and I'll be happy. Ask for more. Abundance is your birthright. That's what I'm saying about don't just scrape by. Don't just come out of the dark and do all right. Come out of the dark and shine your light. Don't just come out of the dark to do all right. Come out of the dark to shine your light. So really maximize your potential in this time where you're coming out of that darkness. And really the best way to do that is gratitude. An attitude of gratitude is everything. It's what keeps the abundance flowing into your life. So that's the simplest and easiest way you can do that right now, is by remaining grateful. And the thing is this, if you fill yourself with gratitude, if you maintain that frequency of gratitude, your thoughts will reflect that. Your feelings, which supercharge your thoughts, will reflect that. And you'll just be an aura of gratitude walking around, living your life. And if you're in that space, truly locked into that space, how could you possibly be creating old patterns? How could you possibly be worrying about cutting corners, for example? You won't be cutting corners if you're grateful, because true gratitude does not cut corners. Someone who is truly grateful for the experience that they're having in this life is someone who gives their best to this life because they want to give back. When you're grateful, there is no opportunity to sneakily try to put the pieces back together to your life, hoping that, it won't be recreated again. When you're in that space of gratitude, you're in that exalted space. You're in a space of innocence and purity and compassion, and your path cannot be sabotaged. But you can't be in that space and also cutting corners. It doesn't work. You can't be in that space and thinking that you can cheat to get ahead. You're not even having those thoughts because you're focused on gratitude. Okay, so whatever you've recently come out of, whatever you're doing better at now in your life, look at that situation. What has the transition been? Where are you at right now? What are the blessings in your life? How can you maybe look into your mind and see how you're either ensuring more of that goodness, or you're setting in place a program that's going to surely have it taken away from you? Are your thoughts going to help you sustain this new lifestyle or these new blessings that are coming into your life? Or are they going to bring you right back to where you were before? Are you having thoughts that are self-victimizing? Are you finding that even though you've made it through a challenge, your thoughts are still very much there in that challenge? Because those are all signs that you're just going to recreate the same challenges for yourself again. It is not something to be paranoid about, because ironically, the paranoia works to attract that very same thing. until you can learn the first lesson of don't have paranoia. Then you can learn whatever the secondary lesson is. So if your thoughts are paranoid, you are going to recreate the same thing. So don't be afraid of recreating the same thing, because you'll just attract that, so you could get over it. Don't be afraid of recreating the same thing. Just remember the simple truths, the simple laws that say your mind is everything. Move ahead, create strategies mentally, emotionally, physically, that will keep you in a space of gratitude and that will keep you looking ahead. And if there's something that arises, don't deny it. Look at it, because it's there and you have to make peace with it. Otherwise, whatever it is that you're denying, whatever part of self you're denying, is secretly behind the scenes taking the reins. And we can't have that. So you have to have a clear conscience. Okay, so this is where we're at. This is the challenge and the gift for the week, the focus. How are you treading, not in a way that is like you're walking on eggshells, but how are you treading carefully? How are you treading cautiously, mindfully, intentionally? How are you putting together, look at each sword as though it's a different thought. How are you collecting your thoughts together in a way that is strategic and in a way that is going to put you in a position to sustain those blessings that are already present in your life or attract new ones? How are you strategically putting those thoughts together? Then look at those swords as different challenges and situations in your life. How are you handling them? How are you situating yourself within those challenges? What position are you putting yourself in? Okay, so it's like, what choices in your mind and in your reality are you making to set yourself up for success? Especially after having come out of whatever challenges you've just come out of. How are you making sure that you're collecting your thoughts in a healthy way, not in a way that is reflecting trauma from your recent challenges? And where we're headed, Queen of Pentacles. And the message feels very clear to me here. It feels very direct. The message is this: depending on how you put together your reality right now, which means first your thoughts, then your reality reflects that. Depending on how you strategize right now will determine what your physical manifested reality will not just look like to you, but feel like to you. If you want your heart, this is what the Queen of Pentacles is about. If you want your heart to be connected to your reality, which means you want your relationships to be healthy, you want your, and even there will always be challenges, but you want it to be healthy. You want there to be love. You want to feel your heart in all that you do. You want to feel your heartstrings tied to the environment that you've created from that space within. If you want to feel that connection in your relationships and in your life, in your job, everywhere you go, in your manifested reality, then it's all about how you choose to walk the path right now. Are you going to recreate the same challenges? Or are you going to stay present and with your conscious awareness make the appropriate decisions as to how to fashion your reality so that you can move to this new reality, not reflecting the challenges of the past? Of course, there will always be new challenges, but moving toward a more heart-centered reality. If you want to see a reality manifested in the reflection of your heart, how are you carefully choosing your thoughts right now? Choosing your words, choosing your actions. And remember, it all begins first in your own mind. How are you talking to yourself? What is the self-dialogue? Are you victimizing yourself? Because then again, you're going to keep looking over your shoulder, and somebody who's so preoccupied with worrying about what karma is coming to bite him in the butt is not going to be able to have the energy that you need to be whole and present and manifest a reality that your inner Queen of Pentacles is proud of. How can you expect to get here to a reality where it's everything you see is a manifestation of your heart's truth? How can you expect to get to that place of love and gratitude for your manifested reality? if you're still looking back, worried about the poor choices that you're making, worried if you're going to end up in the same spot again, well, then you will again and again. So instead, just do your best. The one do the rest. So what you got to do is just do your best. That's it. Put the pieces together as carefully as possible. Look to where you might be recreating certain challenges, recreating past challenges or traumas. And understand that if you want to get to this place of feeling your heart in everything you do, which is absolutely achievable by anyone, then all it takes is doing your best to choose carefully, to choose wisely, to eliminate or transform those thoughts where you are victimizing yourself or having to look back. Look ahead, start anew, start fresh. Know that it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to recreate the past. You don't. I can't tell you how many times I've said that in the last couple of weeks in my work. And to myself especially. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't. And especially when our ego wants to tell us that yes, it will just be that way. Yes, it will just end up that way. It always ends up that way. And the more scientifically and logically it tries to justify that negativity, the more you know that you're fooling yourself. That's a red flag right there. There is no justifying this sort of behavior. It's this part of ourself that we shouldn't hate, but we should embrace. It's this part of this lower part of ourself that challenges us to say, you know what? No, it doesn't have to be the same. We can literally shift our DNA. What do you mean? It absolutely doesn't have to be the same. And I know that I'm creating right here, right now with my belief, with my mind, with my heart supercharging every thought. So wow, I better not have that thought that I'm just going to recreate the same thing. And even if we're talking about a blessing, I don't want to recreate the same blessing. I want experiences that are always new, because that's the truth, because the only thing that's constant in life is change. So nothing is ever the same anyway. So whether we're expecting a blessing or a lesson, everything's always new. Everything's always new. So we may as well just expect blessings, expect miracles, expect blessings, but there's no reason to allow that fear to come in and to give into that fear when it says to you, you're just going to recreate the same thing. It's whatever you believe. It's whatever you believe. It doesn't have to be that way. It is what you say it will be. And I love that this is the ally of the week. Remember, it's flipped. So if you want to see it the proper way, just Google Hebrew letter Aleph, A-L-E-P-H. And this is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, the Aleph Bet. Okay? And it's actually associated with the magician, despite popular opinion that it's associated with the fool. This is not true. If you want to learn more about that and go beyond the manipulations of modern tarot, ask me about my books. I talk about this one specifically in depth. So the Aleph is actually connected to the magician, number one. And this is the thing. This is why it's the ally of the week, you guys. The magician is the master in reflection of the grand master, the greatest one, the Most High. And even in the shape of the Aleph, you can see this concept of Arcanum 1, the magician, where like this is the body and there's one hand pointing up and one hand pointing down. The magician card actually, the magician himself is making up the letter Aleph. You'll also see a lot more of that going on in the decks that were first made in France, actually. In the early French cards, you'll see the Hebrew letters quite clearly. They started flipping them and making them more hidden. But the magician is a very obvious one. He has one hand pointing up, one hand pointing down, just like the Aleph. And what that is denoting is that we have to have one hand up, one hand down, meaning we have to have one part of ourselves always connected to source, to that infinite source of power and potential. And then the other hand, so that that force moves through us and we can do something with that force. Okay, and on the Magician card, you see he has a tool for each of the 4 elements. And what that reminds us of is how we are made of the elements. And the elements of nature are our tools for actual magic. So why do I feel this is the ally of the week? To me, it's very clear. It's like if we want to get through these challenges, if we want to see this reality manifested here on earth where our heart is in it, we have to remember that we are the master of that reality. It's up to us to make the right choices. It's up to us to stay connected to that infinite source. First of all, to know that it's not just our power, it's the power of the one. So it requires a level of humility to know that my power is coming from that unlimited source, that one source of all creation. Okay, so the olive says, remember to stay tuned in to that potential. Because if you truly stay tuned into that potential and you walk with that awareness, there is no way you will look back. Because first of all, you're not having to look over your shoulder for karma about to bite your butt, because you are remembering that you're a part of that source of purity, that source of unlimited potential. You won't feel the need to do petty things to get ahead. You'll remember that the light of the virtues is the light of that source, and you will choose to walk in that virtuous frequency. You will choose to walk in that light. You will not look over your shoulder once to worry about what karma might come to get you, because you're not creating negative karma. You remember that you came from that source, right? Aleph reminds us of that. And so if I want to be connected to that power, I need to be that light. I need to resonate with that light, which is the all virtuous light of compassion. So I'm going to walk that virtuous path. I will not walk with vice, which keeps us constantly looking over our shoulder and prone to getting hurt. Right? So that's one way that this is the ally. And another way, there are many ways, but I'll give you another example of how the Aleph is an ally for this current work. It's saying that, what are you even doing this for? The Aleph reminds us, what is the ultimate goal? Because you could pick the pieces back up, with a certain superficial or temporary goal in mind. But when you remember the one goal, which the magician remembers, as above, so below, on earth as it is in heaven, right? The magician card is all about bringing heaven to earth. When you remember that highest purpose that Aleph reminds us of, it gives you this sense of fulfillment and empowerment and inspiration to choose your strategy for how you're picking up your thoughts, how you're gathering your thoughts, how you're collecting the pieces, based on the original pattern of creation, the original blueprint. So you end up accessing the highest strategy in reflection of that original creative strategy or alchemical strategy. And so your every move is like, it's guaranteed to bring success, but not just for you, for all of life. So when you attach your intentions to that grand purpose of bringing heaven to earth, or bringing our heart into our reality, it gives you that power that you need, that inspiration that you need to pick the pieces up confidently and with a greater purpose in mind, because now it's not just about you. Now it's about everyone you love, and it's about all creation. And you know what the one says? God, Allah, Hashem, Creator, Source, says, wow, I see that you're picking these pieces back up so intentionally, not just for yourself, but for the larger self of which we're all a part. So I'm going to support every part of this process, every choice you make, because it's reflecting my own will. This is what the Creator is saying. Because it's reflecting my own will, it's going to feel effortless. You're going to be guided by grace. I'm going to maximize your potential here because you're doing it for us. Remember, God helps those who help themselves. This is the same concept here. So remember, Aleph says, remember the source you're connected to, and remember that you're doing this for that source, which means for all of life. So imagine if you don't have the guidance of that Aleph, that power. Say you're not remembering your purpose. Say you don't remember where you came from. You're more prone to stumbling, messing up, making mistakes, slipping into vice, slipping into distractions, temptations. But when the Aleph comes in, you're walking steady, you're walking strong, you're walking confidently. You have a solid foundation and a purpose. You're uplifted, you're fulfilled, you're inspired, you're activated. You remember that you're pulling from an infinite source of energy. You're immediately activated. Your vitality shoots up. Whereas if you didn't have that ally, you wouldn't have that level of vitality. You'd feel a sense of disconnection and isolation from the rest of life. Whatever you're going through then becomes a lot heavier. And when things are heavier, we tend to give into vice more. It's harder to walk a virtuous path when things are heavy because we just want to throw in the towel. We said, oh, what's a little dishonesty? Who cares, right? What's a little bit of, being mean? What's a little bit of, stealing? What's a little bit of cheating or lying? But instead, when you remember that all virtuous light that is your essence, the essence of who you truly are, you will do everything to remain in that frequency. Okay, so you could see how when the Aleph comes in and reminds you of who you are, reminds you of your purpose, that source of power you're connected to, and your mission of pulling that in and making something of it in this reality, you can see then how that would support this process that you're currently going through, picking yourself up out of whatever challenge you just came out of. But not just picking yourself up, really allowing yourself to be uplifted. Don't just pick yourself up, but know that on a much greater level, you as the God you are lifting your smaller self up. So don't think you're doing it alone. Okay? So allow that grace to carry you. Don't just sort of get by. Make the best of the situation by remembering who you are and why you're here, why we are here. And then you can create a reality where your heart is in everything that you do. Your heart is in your relationships. Your heart is present in all that you think, say, and do. And when we all do that, when we all tap into our Queen of Pentacles, who is the heart of the manifestations in this reality, then together we create a reflection of this archetype on a grander level. We create a manifestation of the collective Queen of Pentacles, which looks like a reality, a harmonious reality, where all of our hearts are in what we're doing. So of course, you can see how the Aleph is the ally of the week. Don't just get by. Don't worry about recreating the same challenge. You're good. You have the power beyond the little you. You've got that power of an unlimited source. So put those pieces together strategically based on that greater source of all power. Put together those pieces with the help of that light, with the help of the light of the virtues. Put together those pieces with honesty, with patience, with kindness, with compassion. And know that as you do that, you're bringing not only yourself, your small self, closer to a heart-centered reality, but you're bringing the larger self closer to a heart-centered reality that we can all one day share in. Awesome. So some of you might want to put the Aleph as your background on your phone, or print it out, put it on your altar, put it on your mirror where you're going to see yourself every morning when you first wake up, or maybe it's on your wall. So when you open your eyes, it's the first thing you see. Maybe you want to practice writing the Aleph or just gazing at it for a short time, even within your mind. That's the power of the Hebrew alphabet. It's magical. It's not just about the, these mental concepts about it. It's also about the intuitive aspect of these letters and the visual magic of these letters. So use the magic of the Aleph to guide you this week, because it is the ally. All of these letters are. They all are. But we chose this one today. So start here. This is the access point. And if you guys want to know more about the meaning of the Aleph and how it connects to the tarot, or if you want to know more about how Hebrew or the Torah connects to the tarot, please ask me about my books. Book number 1 is all about the major arcanum cards in the tarot, how to have a relationship with each of those aspects within your own mind and within your own heart. It also gives you the proper Hebrew letter correlations, which you can almost never find anymore in modern day books on the tarot. And then of course, Royal Path 2 is on the minor arcanum, so the rest of the 56 cards of the deck, as well as the elemental suits. And I give a new perspective, a new way of looking at the elemental suits in my book. So whether you're just beginning with tarot or whether you've been doing tarot for years, I promise you there's unique information in my books. Please feel free to ask me any questions. Just private message me, or you can email me at info@royalpathtarot.com. I am available for one-on-one readings. I saw a few of you ask that, so please reach out. I can do a reading locally or on any video platform wherever you are in the world. So please don't be shy. Reach out, private message me, or email me. Thank you guys for being here. I'm wishing you an excellent rest of your weekend, and I'll see you next week for the full moon activation. Thank you. Also, you guys, one more thing. I have 2 private groups on Facebook. For those I see a lot of you in here who are part of the group, so it's reminding me. 2 groups. Shabbat Crew is all about Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism. The other group is the Archetypal Alliance, if you want to join there, where we talk more about tarot and the archetypes. So yeah, that's been really awesome. And thank you to all the group members who've been supporting, reaching out, writing reviews. I loved checking out the reviews today online and seeing all the beautiful things y'all have been saying about my books. You can also, if you want to give back because you've been enjoying these activations, or if this is your first time and you really loved this activation, you can always give back by writing a review for me at facebook.com/royalpathtarot. You can write a review right there. You could even send me an email review at info@royalpathtarot.com. You can also make a donation if that feels right for you. And I'm going to put my donation links on my page at the end of the video. So if you feel like you want to give back, those are some ways you can do it. Thank you guys so much. We do this every week. So I'll see you next time.